Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party, and I'm doing one of my short 3JS videos, and this is my favorite one of all time. Now, I actually had this thing just running while I was working today. Just I don't know, it's just something calm and relaxing about looking over and seeing these things uh, just sort of rotating around like that side by side, which is really, really cool. Yesterday, I noticed that I totally forgot to even talk about code at all. And honestly, the reason is because there's just most of the code I've actually gone over already. And for this one, I literally just cherry picked some existing code from my other duplicate. So I already yesterday I got the I got this group working, and basically it was very similar to other other systems. And it's kind of weird because I kind of start at like I kind of start with the code already working. I kind of start um on existing app uh uh code that I've already created, and I've already kind of gone over it. But yesterday, the code that I kind of forgot to go over, or that I totally forgot to go over, not kind of, was this where I created two geometries, and then they both share the same. Or then there's one material, and then a sphere for the first geometry, and a sphere small for the second geometry, and then I set the position of the small sphere to -4 along the x-axis. And I just add them, and then we already had the grouping. And then for the doubling, I just did a cherry pick, which that just brought in. Um, how does that work? Actually, it's up in the over here. It just shows these two. It just changes the way this works, and I believe it adds this functionality for show controls equals false. So that was just a cherry pick. The code is definitely evolving. This is definitely, to me, is very, 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 very close to screensaver sort of interest level. Like I could have this thing just running, and like a lot of times I'll see on TV shows where they'll have like a room that has interesting 3D sort of things just kind of happening on the walls and stuff like that. So this is definitely moving in that direction. Also, this could be, I believe 3GS has a way to make this into like a 3D thing so that you could uh, kind of run this on run this page on your glasses, and it would look like it was actually in 3D. So this thing would look like it was actually coming at you and stuff like that. So that's always really cool, but and there's just so many directions to go from here, but I kind of want to just keep marching forward. Um, and the next code that I want is basically to be able to kind of look at it like this, and then say like, oh, okay, I want to look at around, like let's say I'm telling it to rotate around the y-axis. That's like the most traditional. And then when you but then have this camera be up above it, so basically it would look more like um, this. Like this one would be like this, and then this one, it would look like the camera would be up above, so then it would look like it was spinning around like the z-axis if I were to do the z-axis right now. So one of them is showing two different views. I think that'll be really, really cool. One thing I did learn today is that the moon does not actually, it's pretty close, but it doesn't actually rotate the Earth in in a circle. It actually rotates along an ellipse, and that's because and the Earth sits in the foci. So like an ellipse is round like this, and it has two radiuses, or two radii, two places that it's rotating around, and the one part of the ellipse is pointed towards the sun because the sun provides a ton of gravity, and the other part of the ellipse is like where the Earth is sitting. So like it's like an oblong, and the Earth sits away from the sun, and then there's like a ellipse around the Earth, and then the Earth rotates around in that little ellipse, but it's almost circular. It's very close. But so that really does show that the moon gets a lot closer. So I was had it in my head that the moon was always the same distance away from the Earth, but that's not true. It gets a lot closer during certain times of the year. And so like if you like when you do, I would imagine when you get a solar one of those eclipses where the moon disappears, then you probably have very, very low. If you're looking at a lunar eclipse that is where the sun is on this side, and then so let me reload this. So like if you imagine that this is the Earth and this is the moon, and let's say the sun is directly on the other side of the moon, then the moon would get dark because the shadow of the Earth would would make it would make it to where you couldn't see the moon, right? It would go completely dark. Well, at that point, the moon is very close, probably the closest it'll ever be as to the sun. So when you're getting a lunar eclipse where the sun is on the other side of you, this moon is probably as close as it's going to get. That means that your waves, if you live around a beach or something like that, the waves are going to be much higher at that point. Just all kinds of stuff, it's going to be really, really like a lot more than just the fact that the moon disappeared. There's going to be a lot of very interesting things that happen, and that a tool like this makes it a lot easier to visualize things like that. So that's like kind of thing that like it's hard for me to say in words, but like if we actually had a picture of like the way the Earth is, I say like the Earth, I believe is the moon is 400 times smaller than the Earth, but then the sun is 400 times farther away from us than the moon is. So that's why we get like that really good that really good coverage and stuff, where we get a full eclipse. If the sun was farther away than the moon, oh, I wish I had some water. Then the moon would, would have a much bigger yellow around it during an eclipse, um, and I guess if the sun was further, yeah, and it would have a smaller shadow on the moon, so you get like a white around the outside, I think. But anyway, so the next thing to try to figure out is how do I get it to where one visualization has one camera, and another visualization has a different camera, so that we can demonstrate what things look like. And that should be, I think, the thing that's unfortunate about that is that's going to be a almost all completely Angular work, very little 3JS work. And I'm trying to get very fixated and focused on on 3JS with as little fixation on Angular as possible, but sometimes you just can't. Um, so anyways, that is that. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.